Okay, good evening once again. Welcome to the Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer show for Wednesday, July 21st. In this show, we once again will have SEC Media Days tonight. So we'll have videos from all the coaches from Monday through Wednesday. So we will have those for you today. So we will be doing that. So if you want to talk SEC Media Days, you can chime in through the StreamYard comment section, or if you want a video chat, the StreamYard link will be posted. I will be posting them in just a second, so give me just a second to post them. We will have them up in just a second for you. So I'm waiting to get this one up, and we'll put this in. Okay, all three networks have the StreamYard links. If you want to come in, once again, talk anything in the world of sports or SEC Media Days, you're welcome to do it. That'll be optional for anybody. So let's go over, once again, before we do SEC Media Days, let's go over some scoreboard update. We'll go through scores that's happening tonight in baseball and stuff like that. So let's begin going through those scores. So I'm going to go through scoreboard update at this hour. Okay, we'll go through. Let's go to MLS games going on in across the country. So I'm going to go through those in a second. So give me just a second. We're waiting for the computers to load. It should be up in a second. So we should have it up for you in a few. Okay, let's go through the MLS scoreboard. So let me pull this. Let me see if I can get this in. Come on. Wait, give it a second. Okay, Major League Soccer scoreboard update. Columbus and Nashville tied up at 0-0. That's in a 68-minute. Also, New England on top 4-0. That is in a 66-minute. Also, New York FC is on top 1-0. That is in the 70th minute now. Also, Toronto and New York Red Bulls tied up at 1. That's in the 65th minute. Also, Chicago Fire on top 1-0 against DC United. That's at halftime. Also, FC Cincinnati on top, no score with Atlanta. Also, no score. Sporting Kansas City and San Jose. Those games get ready to begin later on this evening. ESPN Plus games. FC Dallas will take on Colorado. Los Angeles Galaxy will take on Real Salt Lake. And also LAFC will take on Portland. That will be around 9:30 tonight. So that is your Major League Soccer scoreboard. We'll go to Major League Baseball. See what's happening in the world in Major League Baseball tonight. Give you an update on those games going on in baseball action tonight. Okay, Major League Baseball scores. I'm waiting for the screen to come up, so give me it. It should be coming up in a second. Okay, rain delay. Padres and Rays. Padres on top 5-4. Marlins tied up at 1 against the Washington Nationals. That's in the 7th inning. Now it's in the bottom. Also, top half of the 6th, it is Philly on top 2-2. Also, Toronto down 5-4. That's in the top of the 7th. Also, Detroit on top 4-2. That's on ESPN Plus. That game. Also, the game on ESPN tonight. Cardinals is down 1-0. That's in the bottom half of the 3rd. Also, Cleveland on top 1-0. Minnesota on top 1-0. Games from earlier today, that was earlier afternoon games. Rays win 5-4. Padres win game 1 3-2. This is going to be game 2. Mets win 7-0. Brewers lose 6-3 to Kansas City. Colorado wins 6-3 over Seattle. Also, Arizona wins 6-4 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Other games tonight: Dodgers and Giants. That'll be at 9:10 Central. That'll be out in LA. Julio Urias will pitch tonight, and Logan Webb will pitch for the San Francisco Giants. So that is your Major League Baseball updates. So let's see if we got anything else that we have to discuss. Okay, WNBA games. Let's give you those WNBA games. These are August 15th. These are not like I said, these are in the middle of next month. So that is August 15th. So their games will be August 15th. Because of the Olympics will be taking over the schedule. So let's see what else we have before we go over to the SEC Media Days tonight. Okay, let's see Olympic soccer. Let's give you an update on those Olympic soccer games going on. So let's go over to the Olympic soccer women's scoreboard. Okay, Summer Olympics soccer. Let's see if I can pull it up. Okay, Summer Olympic soccer. Great Britain wins 2-0. Brazil wins 5-0. Sweden wins 3-0 over USA. That was earlier today. Also tied up at 1, Canada and Japan. Netherlands win 10-3 over Zimbabwe. Looks like. Also, Australia wins 2-1 over New Zealand. That is a final score. That was in Group G. So Group G action for the Olympics. So once again, your schedule again. First round will be Great Britain. Will play at 2:30 in the morning. Also at 3 p.m. 3 a.m. will be China and looks like Canada and China and Brazil. Sweden and USA will play at 3:30 as well. That will be at 3:30 in the morning, not during the day. Japan and Canada, Netherlands. So that is your we'll show you the other schedules. We'll give you that in just a second. So this is for Thursday, the men's final. So that's the men's final that will be on Thursday. So all these games are early morning games. So okay, that is it for once again sports scoreboard update. We will go over to our feature thing we're doing tonight, which is SEC Media Days. We're going to be going over. We're going to be listening to the coaches that participate in the SEC Media Days this year. So we're going to go ahead and begin our show. So let's pull this up and we'll switch this out. We'll go over to. So I'm going to put the audio in. Okay, the first coach we're going to be playing is Lane Kiffin. He's with the Ole Miss Rebels. Let's see what he has to say about the 2021 season. Then we'll have Josh Apple, Shane Beamer, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and Jimbo Fisher. So we will have those guys in order. So we'll begin with Lane Kiffin. So let's go ahead and play Lane Kiffin, what he had to say. So I'll put this in.
Hey guys, good to be here. Commissioner actually reminded me when he saw Knox, I went up and said hi to Knox. That Knox needs to earn his scholarship because the commissioner's fine last year. I think I I tweeted that Knox's college fund is gone thanks to the fine there. So it's good to see Commissioner, and it's good to be here. I guess it was 12 years ago. I barely remember it. A lot's happened since then. And, 12 years from being here and seeing everybody. And this has been a long year. Last year ended well. We're excited the momentum that we built, and we feel it in the fan base, we feel it with our players. It's been good to have recruiting back open, so that kids can come be around us, and I think we've created some momentum there. So we got a lot of challenges. First off, defensively, improving from last year. I do think signing a lot of kids in the offseason that were mid-years and really having our first spring. I think if you look around the country, first-year staffs really struggled, especially on defense. And so we'll look to improve there. We've got a lot of good players coming back on offense, led by the quarterback. So challenged to get him to play. I think he played as well as anybody in the country at times. Last year, in the notes coming in, reading them, I guess he was first in the country in total offense per game last year, which I didn't even realize. So it shows the level he can play at. Now he's got to do it more consistent. And I saw in those stats too, we were first in the conference in rushing a year ago, so we need to continue to build off of that regardless of the quarterback. Even though I know a lot of times people think we just throw the ball wherever we've been, we're at our best when we run the ball, and I think we've done that really well at times. So with that, questions?
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Please give your name and affiliation. We will get a microphone to you. All right, we're going to start over here on the left-hand side, Parrish, right here on the end of the aisle.
Parrish Alford, Daily Journal, and Tupelo. Lane, you mentioned that Matt played as well as anybody in the country at times. How do you and Jeff help him become more consistent?
Well, good to see you, Parrish. I think that, again, having a spring finally with him, he's never had a second year of a system. I think has been good for him. I think that, we were still trying to figure out ourselves too without having a spring, not just him, but our offense. We didn't know if he was going to be the starting quarterback, when we went into camp. So Anna was the first year of working with Coach Levy. And, so putting that all together is a challenge. And I think, where we've been a lot of times, we've seen sometimes as the year go that help our players in our first year. So he's done a great job from a leadership standpoint. He's a very confident kid. And so we got to get him to play more consistent. Because like we said, he played great at times and he played really poorly at times. And I think a lot of people forget with that too, that it was his first year as a starter. So we know what to build off and we know what it should look like.
Coach, we'll go down here front left. Bob?
Hey, Lane, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat is at. Follow up on Matt. Obviously, that Arkansas game was very atypical. Looking back on it, what do you think happened to him? Why did he have all those interceptions, and how did he recover from that? Because a lot of guys, they have a game like that, maybe they lose all their confidence.
I think it says a lot about him that he was able to recover from that. I get asked all the time about, why did we pull him? And I've just always believed that you're really slow to do that because you get in the pulling the quarterbacks and back and forth and their confidence is lost. And it's not like another position. When you're the leader of it, you got to take the ball every single snap. If your confidence is rattled and, floating different guys in there. So I'm glad we stayed with him. He learned a lot from it. And, that's sometimes you got to have obstacles. I've referenced obstacles away. That's as good as it gets right there. Throw the ball to the other team 6 times. That's a pretty big obstacle. And so he learned a lot from that. And that was coming off an Alabama game 7 days before of playing extremely well. So it's a lesson for all of our players. You got to go back to work and be humble.
Coach, we're going to go back here. It's bright light right over on the far right along the wall.
Blake Tomer, USA Today Network. Lane, another quarterback question for you. At this event 12 years ago, you brought your All-SEC ballot to prove you voted for Tim Tebow as preseason All-SEC quarterback. I was curious, who would be your pick this year for preseason All-SEC quarterback?
All right. I didn't even remember that 12 years ago, but now that you say that, because I believe there was something about someone didn't have Tebow at first team All SEC. And as usual, I was accused of that. So I brought my ballot to show everyone, to show Irvin. So what was the second part of the question? You got me all off. Now we're back to Urban Meyer and Tebow and singing Rocky Top in the Swamp all night long. That part. Okay.
Who would be your vote
Who would be the vote
this year?
I mean, I would say our own quarterback in Matt. Statistically played as well as anybody in the country, and I guess, and like I said in the stats, reading them in my notes from our SID, only four quarterbacks ever have led SEC quarterbacks have led the country in yards per game. So to me, that just shows how good he can be if he's consistent.
Coach, we're going to go right here in the center.
Yeah. Lane, Tony Sakalas, Bama Insider. After last year's game against Alabama, how close do you feel like your team is to beating them, and what would that mean to be the first assistant to beat Nick Saban if it so happened?
Well, I don't look at it at all about being the first assistant or, whatever that stat is. And, we were close, played really well on one side of the ball, but that doesn't matter now. I mean, the year before, I think we lost 66-3 or something like that. So every year is different. Every year has new challenges. I said at some interview on the way in here, the discussion was about Alabama and Coach Saban and, the parity in college football. And I said, he's done it different than anybody's ever done it and better than anybody's ever done it. And no disrespect to the coaches back before. There's not supposed to be parity, with 85 scholarships and 25 a year. My dad tells me the stories of coming in and having 75 freshmen, in his class coming in. So, to do what he's doing nowadays, and every year, you guys say something that upsets him and gives him rat poison and makes him mad, and then we have to deal with that. So I don't know what the storyline is this year. It'd be something that you did about losing too many staff guys or the quarterback, whatever, but he just finds a way. And it starts with recruiting. He just does such a phenomenal job of recruiting. And so when you got the best players, and you got to go against them, that's enough challenge, let alone before you even get into how great he is as a coach.
Coach, we're going to go over here to our left.
Michael Katz, Daily Journal. You brought up Twitter. I'm just kind of curious, how did you kind of come to embrace social media, and do you genuinely enjoy the banter and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Twitter was not a plan like a long time ago. It really started, I didn't know anything about it. It started a long time ago for recruiting. And then there was a time there where there was a rule which didn't make any sense that you could not text the kids or the parents, but you could direct message them on Twitter. So that's really how we had to learn to use Twitter, or we were going to fall behind, even as an assistant coach at Alabama. So it just kind of took off from there. I do enjoy the fan part. I think it's comical, when I jump on there and read things and how people react to things or the rumors that people write. And so it just gives people a platform to say and do whatever they want. And I guess sometimes I do that too. So it allows me to kind of be a normal person on there. So I do enjoy it. Just seeing it and seeing the interaction, especially in the SEC and the fans. And I'll point out something, even to Knox, like on the plane or something, and say, okay, here's this tweet, okay, and it only has 20 retweets. It'll be something serious. And then here's something that isn't serious at all, but has to do with the SEC, and here's hundreds of retweets. So there's a lot of passion here in this conference and the fan base. So I enjoy it.
Which we'll go over to the right side on the near aisle.
Hey, Lane, Adam with Kentucky Sports Radio. You talked last year about analytics and using the book when they go for it on fourth down. 7 is greater than 3. How much do you think that gives you an advantage over the competition? And as you progress in your career, are you leaning more into that?
Well, I know that sounded like he just said 7's more greater than 3, and that's pretty basic, but that is a big part about analytics that for whatever reason for years as coaches, like that didn't hit us, because I think it was just the feeling of, oh, I kick a field goal, or I attempt, it's not even I'm going to make it, I'm going to attempt a field goal. So then it's like, as a coach, I did everything I'm supposed to do, we got the ball close enough. And when you dive into the analytics, it obviously teaches you to play different. I think somebody said we were, most fourth down attempts or something in the country. I know at FAU one year we were. So, and that's not, I think some people used to do that, just gunslinger mentality. I'm just going to go for it no matter what. That is not that. That is all calculated. It's not easy to follow. And I think that's why a lot of coaches struggle, because it goes against how you were trained to coach and how you're trained to make decisions, especially when you watch the NFL, which until as of late, everybody just kicked. And so it is hard to follow at times. I'd like to think that, we follow it really well, which is why we end up being so aggressive. And then remember the analytics, my book's not the same as your book and your book. It's different based off of our offense, our defense, and our kicker. So if the kicker is doing well, that changes. The kicker, is struggling that season, that changes your book. Your book changes every week. And then there is something there's going to be some times where, to me, the book doesn't understand the feel of the game at that point. The book doesn't understand, maybe it's 58%, you should go for 2 right here. But it doesn't understand the momentum and where the crowd's at with that, and how hard you work to get back to that point, so you may kick the extra point. And it doesn't understand exactly how you feel about your game plan either. You may feel really good in certain games in short yardage situations or goal line situations. And even though the stats say one way, you do different because of your feeling. But I do think I do think a lot of people are catching up to it. So I don't, if you think it's an advantage like you referenced, I think it was. And I think people now, because it's more public and more people are doing it, are catching up with it.
Coach will stay in the center section, about 5 rows back, straight ahead of us.
Coach Theodore with the Commercial Dispatch in Columbus, Mississippi. You've got a couple of young players from our area in the Eli Acker and Luke Altmaier. How do you feel like they're progressing so far?
Eli had a good spring, moved him around at guard and tackle. Very athletic player for us. Luke just getting there for the spring, which is hard at any position to come in as a mid-year player, but especially quarterback, and have to lead your group. I think did a really good job and has a bright future.
Okay, we're going to go over here to the left-hand side.
Jake Thompson with the Oxford Eagle, losing Jaquez to Kentucky. How has that kind of changed your approach to the defense entering fall camp? And I guess did that kind of put an emphasis on getting all those midseason enrollees and having that spring now under their belt?
Yeah, it's just the world we live in. Free agency just happens. At least now there's somewhat of a calendar being put around it, but it's still, it happens. So we wish him the best of luck. Everybody has their reasons, and fans and I don't know if media does too. They all want to get mad at the kids, or assistant coaches. How can this kid leave? And then other assistant coach say, "You're the same guy that's going to leave when you get a different deal somewhere else." So, I wish him the best of luck.
Which we'll go over here on the right section, 3 rows back.
Hi, Travis Brown at the Bryan College Station Eagle. When you look back on last season, what is some of the things that sticks out to you leading up to the postponement and cancellation of the A&M game? And then what are your thoughts on the program getting to play them in year 2?
I think the A&M game, initially was the other way. Was they didn't have enough numbers, I believe, the first time, or something. And then the second time, obviously, was us. So, Jimbo's done a great job there. Elite coach, recruiter, and elite program. So, it'll be challenging whenever we play them, and we'll look forward to it.
We're going to go in the center section about halfway back, straight ahead of us.
Hello, Coach. How you doing today?
Great.
Jeriah Hamilton, the Tuscaloosa News. This year you got a Week 4 matchup at Alabama. Last year, 111 combined points. Did you last year and do you this year have any tricks reserved in the bag offensively for Alabama?
Well, we use about all of them. 111 points is a lot between the two teams. So, obviously, that was a big game. Every coaches say every game's the same. When you have an elite program you're playing against that you play every year that's in your division, it just means more. So, we had a chance. They did a great job. Sark did a great job on offense. I mean, it's kind of exhausting afterwards, even as coaches, let alone being the players. So, that'll be a big challenge going there. And like I said before, I don't know that anyone's ever done it as well as coaches now doing it for an extended amount of time, especially with scholarships as they are. And kids just keep going there. So they do a great job and keeps losing coaches and keeps replacing them.
Coach will go in the center section, along hand, the left-hand aisle.
Lane, John Sokoloff with WCBI TV in Columbus, Mississippi. How are you kind of expecting Dontario to take a step forward this year, and how big of a role is he going to play in your offense?
I think that, we can use him inside and outside and made plays for us last year, very strong hands. He can play special teams. I think he'll be an elite special teams player at the next level. Unique ability to do that and strength. So, that's going to be a challenge for us with these receivers, who's playing where, moving around. We have Plumlee in the mix to figure out what we're doing with him exactly, and that could be a number of things.
We'll go here in the center section, along hand, the right-hand side here, about 3 rows back.
Lane, Mike Rodak with AL.com. Today, Nick Saban said that his quarterback has earned almost $1 million so far in NIL deals. Just how have you seen that play out with recruiting and the potential for other schools, brands to earn players some money?
That number just blew me away. So you didn't prepare me for that. That's amazing. You made $1 million and hadn't started a game yet. Wow. I don't even know what to respond to that, but great for him. It is neat that players can make money now and profit, off of their hard work and what basically everybody else in America gets to do. So, I'm excited about it. I think it's very challenging trying to figure out how these things happen and what's legal and what's not and all that. So I was asked earlier about it. I said, I'm excited for it. I wouldn't want to be compliance departments, but $1 million. Ooh.
Coach will stay in the center section, right in front of us, midway back.
Elaine Brooks Cabina from The Advocate. You're talking about point totals. The LSU game, 101 points. I mean, with the surge of successful offenses in the SEC, do you find that it's harder to find an advantage in a game, a leg up, and how do you approach that?
Well, I think part of that's analytics and just understanding how games are going. And again, when you follow it, and then if you have a team, like we were, where we were a lot better on offense and defense a year ago, you got to be really aggressive, and you're aggressive in your game plans. And, it's not just fourth downs that maybe fakes, tricks, and, taking more shots down the field, at times playing more aggressive on defense, knowing, hey, there's a good chance they're scoring, so let's actually play more aggressive, to try to create a turnover versus let them move down the field. So, it's not something you want to have. You obviously want to play really well on offense and play well on defense, that you don't have to think that way. And that's what we're working to do.
She'll stay in the center section along the aisle here, about halfway back.
Hey, Lane, Matt St. Jean, WTVA in Tupelo. During the offseason, you accepted a challenge from Dabo Sweeney to play him in one-on-one. I was wondering if a date was set and what your strategy would be going against Dabo in one-on-one ones and twos to 21.
I think our basketball coach said that. I don't know that I exactly accepted it. I don't know. I've seen video of Dabo. He does shoot the ball well, very quick. He did FaceTime me actually from Boca Grande actually a couple weeks ago because he heard I was coming down there when he was down there where he and Coach Saban stay. But he was golfing, not playing basketball with his son and the Raiders receiver. So we actually didn't talk about basketball, but I'm trying, man. I'm trying to lose some weight, so I got a chance against him.
And we'll go center section over on the right-hand side.
Coach Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. We could tell you were frustrated last year defensively with the lack of being able to get stops in the offseason. Now that you guys have had a spring, but take us kind of inside the staff room with you and DJ Durkin and Chris Partridge. What was the game plan to try to get better defensively so you guys can take a step up in the Western Division?
Well, I think we just, we struggled in all areas on defense last year. Now, a good thing we did play well in the bowl game, so, that's how we ended the year, and hopefully we take off from there. But it was just challenging, whether it was injuries or different guys, trying to learn a system, 3-4 and 4-3 and all things. But also, you're playing all SEC games, so you don't have any non-conference games. One helps statistically sometimes, but also to see early on in the year, how guys play and being able to play your backups, hopefully in a game like that. And we didn't have that. And then now you're playing SEC offenses every week. And it's also a year of some great offenses, really elite players. So it was very challenging.
We'll go center section, third row first. All right.
Yeah, Coach Olin Buchanan with TexAgs.com. It's my understanding that Jerry Allen Ely has, I think, shoulder surgery. How's he coming back from that, and what's the status?
I'm still blown away on this Bryce Young. Like, the guy's made $1 million already. That's good, man. He don't need to play next year against us. And it's mind-blowing. Well, Ely's fine. He's been working out with the team, and we're excited to have a fall with him where, now that we know more about him, having a season that we could maybe move him around, do some different things.
We have three in the queue. We'll start in the middle of the section, right in the middle. Stand up.
Nick Kelly with the Tuscaloosa News. Coach, you seem to enjoy tweeting about Coach Saban especially. Do you know if he's seen your tweets or what his reaction's been?
Well, he's certainly not on Twitter. We know that. Now, Linda, his assistant, is probably prints them out, especially the ones that he may not like. And so he probably does see those. But I think it's all in fun. I think you guys know that are around enough covering us, how much respect I have for him, how grateful I am, for him hiring me in the 3 years together with him and for what that did for my career. But the respect, and like I said, nobody's done it like he's doing it ever. And with the scholarships, it should be an asterisk compared to what was done before. No disrespect to other coaches.
We've got time for two more. We're going to start here on the right-hand side of the center aisle.
Conor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Lane, you said you're trying to lose some weight besides not maybe indulging in so much Mississippi food. You tweeted about that. What else have you done, and what have been the results so far?
Strange question to ask a guy, I feel like, but you're being negative about Mississippi food. I mean, positive. It's a Mississippi diet. So I came to Mississippi, I embraced the food, and just not a lot of it, and have some portion control. So that's not really what the diet was, but I'm going to be positive about the food in Mississippi.
All right, we'll go down here to Bob for the last question right here in the second row.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I was going to ask a two-parter. That's okay. Lane, if you could follow up talking about Matt, I mean, what are his real strengths? What are you expecting for the next step for him this season? And then is your dad going to be an analyst again? And if so, what does that add? And how's your dad doing?
Did you say Matt? Yeah. We expect Matt to play better, be more consistent, limit turnovers, take care of the ball better. My dad's doing well. Thanks for asking. He just had a press conference, I think last week, going into the Bucks Ring of Honor, which is an awesome thing. And just watching that press conference, seeing the old clips of him coaching at Tampa and how the players, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, Sapp, how Lynch, how they talk about him. Just really neat. I texted him after that, just make sure that he knew how much I respect him and appreciate him and love him, and how unique that is. He changed people's lives, by how he coached them and how he cared about them. So it's awesome to have him around. He's, I think, 81, and he's still there. First one in the office every day. Pretty cool example for young coaches.
Coach Kiffin, thank you for your time today.
All right, guys, thank you.
Okay, Tennessee coach, Coach Haspel comes up, so we got him set up. So we
All right, Coach. Talk about being here, first time representing Tennessee as head football coach.
Absolutely, so excited. Really proud of the two guys that we brought with us, Levante and Bayless. Had a great morning here, easy flight up, and excited just an opportunity to be able to share where we're at in Tennessee football and what the future holds. And really proud of our football team, where we've come in 5.5, 6 months, and obviously we've got a long ways to go, but really excited about the progress we've made.
Coach, Commissioner Sankey talked about yesterday about 6 of the 14 or 80%. Are y'all one of those 6?
We're not at the threshold yet. We're coming close. We continue to progress. More and more of our kids are continuing to get vaccinated. Our medical team's done a great job of educating our players and our staff, to be honest, about the benefits of it. And we'll continue to push forward as we get close to training camp.
What's been your message on that and your approach to that with your team?
It's an individual decision for everybody, right? It's personal health, right? But I think you want to educate your players as much as you can to the benefits of it, right? And have a real conversation with them about what they're reading, what they're hearing, and what the reality of it is. Dr. Klink, our medical staff, does a tremendous job of that, of sharing information with our players and educating them, and then re-educating them too as this process has gone on and it's first got rolled out.
Do you have a ballpark of what percentage you guys are at?
Yeah, we're just a little bit below that threshold. I feel like that's something that's attainable for our football team as we move forward.
Would you talk about the college football playoff going from 4 to 12 teams eventually? Do you like that idea?
Yeah, I think at the center of everything that we do in college football has to be the player experience, right? And making sure that we're putting them in the best position to have a great experience. The more teams that have an opportunity to compete for a national championship, that's awesome. Obviously, you don't want to take away from the general bowl experience for all the teams that are playing in that bowl game that maybe not be a part of the playoffs, right? You also want to take into consideration the health of your players and the length of the season. And at the end of the day, that committee will do a great job of deciding what's right for us and as college football, and we move forward. But certainly an advocate for anything that increases the player experience.
You're moving to morning practices. Talk about the thinking behind that.
Yeah, and just in a real casual dialogue when I first got to campus, as we talked about the things that mattered to our players, and there were a lot of things that were deep in conversation. How do we connect more with the football team? What's our accountability like? But then there's some one-offs too, and whether that's player uniforms or just practice times, and having done it both in the afternoon and in the morning. Our players were interested in it. I kind of talked about our experience, my experience with it, our staff's experience with it, and some of the benefits that come along with it, both on the football side, but also academically, I feel like. And our administration has done a great job of allowing us to maneuver our sessions with our players and put us in a position where we'll be able to do that this fall.
How early will you start? Do you know the time frame?
Yeah, we're right in that 7:30 time frame where our players will be in the building with us.
What's your message to your players about the NIL coming in and how to balance those pursuits with what they're trying to do on the field with the team?
Well, don't ever forget why you're here, right? And it's true when you're 18 to 22. It's true when you're 43 years old, like I am too, right? Don't ever lose sight of what your priorities are, right? And as long as you're able to focus and work towards your goals of what really matters, right? Some of the outside experiences that our players have an opportunity to take advantage of are really important. And I just go back to my playing days, right? And the opportunities that I would have had, that I did have as soon as my playing career was done. Those are unique opportunities that have an opportunity to help you grow as a player too. And Grant Firkin, one of our players, that runs his own multi-million-dollar business, right? And I think he's expressed it in a really good way. It's got an opportunity to help our players grow up really quickly. Once they get to campus, being focused on what's the outside perception of myself as a player, right? What do I need to do to continue to build my brand, build my resume, and put myself in a great position that when football is done, I'm ready to go out and attack life.
Well, there's so much team building this whole season. You've got so many new faces. Is that something you'll continue to fall camp to kind of let these new guys kind of get a fit for everybody else?
It's going to be who we are inside of our program as we move forward in my tenure. I just think connection is so important. Relationships are a foundation of anything that you do inside of a corporation, inside of a football program. It's important that the player experience is real, right? And so many people use family as a word in recruiting, but don't live that thing out every day. At the end of the day, it means that you spend time together, right? And we work hard. Our players compete extremely hard. They've grown so much inside of the game. At the same time, you get a great opportunity to spend time with each other and create real experiences. I know, like, you win a national championship. That's awesome. It's fun. It's worth every price that you paid to go after it. At the same time, when you get done with it, those experiences and the people that you're with matter just as much as that experience of going and hoisting the national championship trophy. And so I want to make sure that we create avenues for our players to have those experiences together.
Josh, how different have these first maybe 6-7 months been for you when you consider you took over? Most coaches take over programs that are struggling, like you have, but you also took over one that was undefeated. Yeah. So along those lines, how different personally have the two experiences been?
I think every job is different, right? Because the players are different, but the recruiting landscape is different, the conference is different, the city that you reside in, everything is so different. Certainly, you look at the differences in wins and losses of the two programs that I took over. I think the other major difference in taking this program over is when we took it over. I got there in January, our staff was there in the middle of February. You condensed, 7 months of work into 5 months of work really quickly by the time you got to June in recruiting. Our staff worked really hard. I think we've pushed forward on creating real relationships with our players that's going to pay dividends this season, but also as we move forward, it's allowed us to be real on the field and off the field with our players about where we're currently at and where we can get to.
Do you still feel like catch-up mode? Do you still feel like you're in catch-up mode?
I think in year one, I don't know that catch-up mode is right. Maybe it's your first time going through anything together. So naturally, you're going to find things that you want to tweak as you go through it. I feel like we're in a great position. Our staff has pushed forward. Our players have pushed forward. I love where we're at heading into training camp. We got to have a great training camp. We got to grow in our football knowledge and understanding of who and what we are. We got a bunch of new players that came on campus after spring ball. Those guys got to accelerate their growth curve and be ready to go compete. But now it's a one-day approach. Once we get into training camp in person, it's a great position to kick it off in September.
What's your message to the quarterbacks? What quarterbacks is so much trying to get better at them learning with their teammates, getting timing down? How have you present this?
Really, in a lot of ways, it's the same as it is with any of your players, right? You got to go where. And I think it's really critical that your quarterback earns the right to be your starting quarterback. I think it's important for the 14 other guys on your roster that they see that guy has earned it offensively and defensively. To do that, you got to go through the process. There is a ton of growth that happens for your players, in particular your quarterbacks, once they get done with spring ball, in particular the first year, right? They get a chance to fundamentally grow through the summer. You get to redigest your schematics, your playbook, and become a different player by the time they step foot back on campus when you kick off training camp. And you got to let kids go through that. As kids earn the opportunity for more reps or earn the opportunity to decrease their reps, then we'll make choices at the quarterback position just like we will at any other position.
Whose growth in that time impressed you?
You're talking about the summer?
Yeah, the summer.
I think you're going to find out when you get out there and there's live bullets and you see how they communicate, how they process, their ability to make decisions, their ability to reset from one play to another play.
Josh, you've been in Knoxville for a few months. What are kind of the biggest lessons you've learned about the culture around Tennessee since in your time here?
I just think back to, and it's been a short summer, right? It's been a short July. June was a rat race in a lot of positive ways. Opportunity just to meet so many people in recruiting that you hadn't had an opportunity to see yet, players and parents alike, right? And then have an opportunity to get kids on campus and go through a camp setting. So that part's been awesome. But, we get into July, opportunity to spend a little bit of time with my wife and my kids. We knew in moving here that it was a beautiful, special place. I don't think we grasped the totality of that, and the ability to jump on the river and the lake here in Knoxville, hit trails. My daughter's got me out hitting a golf ball, which anybody that knows me knows that that's not my cup of tea, but I'll do it for her. She can knock the cover off of it right now. But then getting up in the Smoky Mountains and floating the river and hitting trails and hitting Gatlinburg and playing mini golf with the kids, it's been in a short amount of time, it's been a lot of fun getting into the culture of Tennessee.
How would you describe kind of the looming sanctions effect on the program and recruiting, and what has that been like for the last?
The looming effect is just a true conversation that you have to have with your recruits. It was a question that I asked before I took this job. Our administration was completely transparent with me. I trusted them in that in some respects because of who they are, but also my experience with our athletic director. It's a conversation that we've had with our recruits when they've come on campus. At the end of the day, I'm going to revert back to what I said in the beginning. I really do feel like this is going to be a speed bump, all right? And something that the kids that we're recruiting and the majority of our players on campus, we're going to be able to go chase and compete for championships once they're on campus. I feel like we've positioned ourselves to swallow up any of the potential sanctions here in this first year and be able to move forward and go compete. Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, Coach Beamer coming up. So we'll go ahead and play Coach Beamer.
Honored to be here.
Then we'll have Kirby Smart. And then we'll also have Mark Stoops. And then we'll have Nick Saban and Jimbo Fish.
Always enjoyed watching
that's your
television each and every summer as an assistant coach at other places. To be here today representing the University of South Carolina, I'm very honored, very grateful, and frankly, really, really cool to be up here in front of all of you and representing our program today. Glad to be second person in my family to be part of SEC Media Days. My wife, Emily, went to school at Mississippi State. I just saw Larry Templeton out in the lobby. She worked for Mike Nemeth in media relations, so she's actually been here, was in this room as one of the persons back in the day that would pass the microphone around for reporters to ask questions. So she's been here and was a part of it, so now I'm the second Beamer to be up here as well. I'm excited to be back in the SEC after 3 years gone. This is my 13th year as an assistant coach, now head coach, being in this conference, and there is no conference in America like this league. I've been a part of multiple leagues, and the passion, the intensity, 365 days a year, the way this league is covered, there's nothing like it. I couldn't be more excited about being back here. I've told Greg before, when I was in Oklahoma working as an assistant coach, I had a TV in my office, and most days that TV in my office was on the SEC network, and watching Paul Feinbaum, watching Peter Burns, and Alyssa Lang, and people like that. So certainly was working to get my job done in Oklahoma, but definitely always had an eye on this league as well. I want to thank Greg Sankey for his leadership. He's someone he mentioned it in the introduction, someone that I've had a lot of respect for a long time. Being back in this conference now as a head football coach, that respect for him has only grown in the 7 months since I've been back in this league, being a part of Zoom calls with him, with the other head coaches, and following his leadership. Fortunate for his leadership last summer and allowing us to have a college football season and the way the path that he led throughout the country, along with some other commissioners, to allow us to play. So certainly thankful for his leadership. Appreciate you guys and the job that all of you do in covering our sport. Hope all of you are having an awesome summer, and really appreciate you being a part of this today. Excited about the two young men that I have here with me today, Nick Muse and Kingsley JJ Inagbre. I've been working with him on the pronunciation of that one as well. So two guys that I'm very excited about. Those two guys, really appreciate their leadership in our program since the day that I got hired. Two young men that did not have to come back for another season, had opportunities to leave South Carolina and continue their playing career at the professional level. Chose to come back for the right reasons, and have been fantastic leaders for us since that day. Nick won our most outstanding offensive player during spring practice. Kingsley won the most outstanding defensive player during spring practice. So they're leading our guys on and off the field. They're both having fantastic summers. They're tough, they're talented, they're gritty, they're competitive, and both of them have great futures ahead of them in football. They're just two of the guys that are doing a great job for us academically in our football program. Kingsley and Nick have both graduated, along with 18 other guys on our team that have graduated as well. 12 more we'll have that will graduate in December as well at the end of our season. So doing a great job academically. 22 of our guys made the dean's list this past semester. One young man made the president's list. We currently have the second highest graduation success rate in the SEC. So really proud of what our guys are doing off the field at South Carolina, and really proud of what they're doing on the field. I know every head coach is going to talk about his team and how excited he is about them. I'm no exception. Our guys have bought in, and they've done everything that we've asked them to do since I got hired in December, and really fired up about what they're getting done right now. Offensively, we returned 7 starters. We got a lot to prove. There's a lot of question marks about our offense. There's no doubt about it. I'm excited about the scheme we put together, being able to marry some of the things that I did at Oklahoma and other places that I've been, along with what Marcus Satterfield, our offensive coordinator, and our offensive staff have done at other places that they've been as well. We've got good young talent at the quarterback position, but that's what it is. It's young. Luke Doty's the most experienced guy that we have. We named him our starter coming out of spring practice. He's a guy that's been in our program for a year. Around him, we have a true freshman. We have an older young man in Connor Jordan that walked onto our program and is doing a great job. Colton Gauthier is a true freshman, and then Jason Brown that transferred in. So good young talent, but inexperienced. Our running back position is a great position of strength for us. Obviously, we all know what Kevin Harris did at South Carolina last season and the season that he had. He's excited to build up on that and have an even better 2021 season to lead the SEC in rushing yards per game and to go over 1,000 yards on a team that didn't have the success that they wanted on the field. To me, is remarkable and just a testament to the workhorse that Kevin is. Marshawn Lloyd, who we have high hopes for, is fully healed and doing a great job in his rehab and is back to full strength. Excited to watch him. You watched our spring game. You saw Zaquandre White. He capped off a great spring practice with a great spring game. Fired up about what he can do. Our offensive line has great experience, and guys like Dylan Wannell, Javon Gwynn, and Eric Douglas returning. Those guys have played a lot of snaps for us, and that's a group that's deep and talented. Ja'Kai Moore is another young man that started there in the past also. Our wide receiver position, and there's a lot that has been made of the wide receiver position. It's deep, all right, but it's very unproven. And those guys certainly are motivated to show what they can do. We've got a lot of guys at that position. We need some guys to step up as well, and they're off to a great start. Kerry Joyner had a fantastic spring for us. He won an award that we voted on as coaches after spring practice for offense and special teams, being a fantastic leader for us. Jalen Brooks and Josh Van are 2 other wide receivers that won awards for us in spring practice also. Tight end position, that's a position that's near and dear to me, something that I've coached for the last 5 years. In my career, we are always going to utilize the tight end. Every donor or booster club event that I go to, that's the one question I get asked. Are you going to throw the tight end? We are going to throw to the tight end. We want the premier tight ends in America, and that's the way that we're recruiting right now as well, to go get those guys as well. We've utilized those guys in the past when I've been at Oklahoma, and we will continue to. One of those tight ends is here today in Nick Buse, a fantastic older player for us, and then Jaheim Bell is another one that we have high hopes for as well. But that position will always be a key part of our offense at South Carolina. Excited about our defense and what Clayton White, our defensive coordinator, is putting together. We want to be a scheme that's attacking first and foremost, and that's what we're doing. My dad used to always say in coaching, if you're good on the line of scrimmage and you're good in the kicking game, you got a chance to be successful. And I feel that we are. We're certainly good on the offensive line. We are deep and we are talented at defensive line. When you talk about Kingsley, who's here today, you talk about another young man like Zach Pickens. There's not a lot of positions at South Carolina that I was familiar with personnel-wise when I got hired. The defensive line was one of them because we recruited a bunch of those guys when I was at Georgia and didn't get them, and we recruited a bunch of them when I was at Oklahoma. Upset that we didn't get them then, but I'm glad we didn't because they're with us now and excited about what they're going to be getting done. In this league, you better be able to stop the run, and it starts up front. We've added some talented freshmen to that group. We've added some talented transfers to that group, and looking forward to watching those guys start. Great competition at the linebacker spot. Sherrod Green's a young man that's played a lot of snaps for us. But he's in a fierce competition with a lot of other young players at that position. That's another position that we're eager to see how that shakes out in August. And then same thing with the defensive back position. For those of you that follow our program closely, you know that our defensive back position was hit really, really hard after the season, whether it be two young men that decided to continue their careers in the NFL, which we're happy for, and then some guys that decided that they just wanted to enter the transfer portal and start fresh somewhere else. So that was a position that was really hit hard that we knew we needed to replace. And we started on that day one, and we continued into the summer. We got 5 guys new to the defensive back position that weren't even there during spring practice that we've added since the end of spring practice. Looking forward to getting out there and watching those guys compete in the fall. And then we talked about special teams. I've been involved in special teams anywhere that I've ever coached. Obviously, that was how my dad, that was his bread and butter, and we certainly want to be dominant on special teams as well. We return the core of our unit, Parker White at kicker, Kai Kroger at punter. Our snappers returned, excited about those guys, and then some really good candidates for the return position as well. And Josh Van, Amarian Brown, Rico Powers, Carry-On Joyner, and Jalen Brooks. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Recruiting-wise, things are going great for us right now. I know a lot of you follow us closely from a recruiting standpoint. I don't think things could have gone any better for us in the month of June from a recruiting standpoint. We had prospects on campus 26 of 27 possible days. The only days that we didn't have prospects on campus was Father's Day. They may have come that day. I don't know. I was out of town. I just said we need to get the heck out of town and have one day. So I went to Charleston for the day. But it was great to be able to have prospects visit our campus, see our facility, and see the people, more importantly, that we have at South Carolina. I had a mom sit in my office and tell me, Coach, the best thing about this visit is you guys are the exact same people in person that you are on Zoom. And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, well, we've done so many of these virtual visits that they act one way on the computer, and then you get around them for a weekend and they're completely different. That's not the way you guys are. We've had 12 commits since June 1st, and we're not slowing down anytime soon. I said in my press conference back in December that I didn't feel like there was anything at South Carolina that we lacked to be a championship program, that we had everything that we needed. I am even more convinced of that now after being there for 7 months. We have awesome academics. We talked about it, what our guys are doing off the field as well. We do have an elite academic program, the #1 university in America, a public university for first-year experience, the nation's best public university, honors college, 300 undergraduate degree programs. Love what our guys are doing from an academic standpoint. We've got the best fan base in the nation, loud, passionate. I've been to Gamecock Club events throughout the state of South Carolina since I got started. I've got 4 more next week. We've got sold-out events. The excitement that they have has only increased since I left South Carolina back in 2011. Can't wait to get out in front of Williams-Brice Stadium, in front of those guys here in September to start this thing up. Our facilities, the way that those have improved since I left in 2011. We've got as good of facilities in the country. Our Long Football Operations Center is unbelievable. Our indoor football facility, the city of Columbia, so much to offer our guys from a facility standpoint. Our coaching staff. That's another reason I say this. It took some time, but I feel like it came together perfectly. And I had a mom, we'll talk about official visits again. I had a mom in my office on an official visit telling me that she has no doubt. She said, I can't believe you guys have only been together for 7 months because you get along so well, you compliment each other so well. And I said, that's the way we're going to be. We're real, we're genuine, we're honest, and what you see is what you get with us. We've got a level of success at South Carolina with other sports that have won championships. So they've shown that it can be done. To win a baseball national championship with Coach Ray Tanner, our athletic director, to win a women's basketball national championship with Dawn Staley. Our men's basketball team went to the Final Four. Our women's soccer team played in the College Cup. I've got Hall of Fame coaches at the University of South Carolina to learn from, and certainly have taken advantage of that as often as I can. Excited about our administration and the support that they've given me. Our new president, President Harris Pastides, being back, Ray Tanner, Chance Miller, our deputy athletic director, and the changes at South Carolina that they've implemented in the last 2 years to give us a chance to be successful. All these Gamecock Club events that I go to, any interview that I do, anywhere that I go in public, everyone tells me that there's never been more excitement about South Carolina football than there is right now. And I'm with them. I've never been more excited about a football season. I've never been more excited about the future of a program than what I am right now. We've got great people in this program. There've been bumps in the road, but I've loved every second of being the head football coach at the University of South Carolina since the day that I got hired. My wife and I bought a house. We haven't moved into it yet. We're renovating it. We're still living in a condo about 100 yards from my office. So about all I do is wake up early each morning and go into that facility, and I can't wait to get to work each day and move this program forward and try and make this program better. There have been some great days in Columbia, South Carolina, some great days for South Carolina football, but I am 100% convinced that the best days of South Carolina football are right in front of us, and I couldn't be more excited about that. Couldn't be more excited about being the head football coach at South Carolina. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach Beamer. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. AJ, Riley, and Savannah have microphones. So we're going to start right over here on the left-hand side in the fourth row.
Shane, Michael Catt from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. Obviously, with your father being who he is, I'm curious, have you found yourself trying to get out of his shadow, or is it something that you've embraced and you're proud to be a part of the lineage of those sorts of accomplishments?
No, certainly very, very proud of that. Ever since I got into coaching, or really you go back to when I was playing high school football, growing up in Blacksburg, Virginia, there were certainly kids that I played with that said the only reason you're the starting whatever on the football team or baseball team is because your dad's the head football coach at Virginia Tech. And then when I got into coaching, whether it's right or wrong, I've always tried to keep that chip on my shoulder or edge about myself to prove myself for sure. Certainly, I'm very proud of that, but I got into coaching in 2000 as a graduate assistant at Georgia Tech with George O'Leary, and that part of that was wanting to get out on my own and make my own name and not just go work for my dad as a graduate assistant and not be Shane Beamer, but to be Frank's son. It was important for me to go out and develop my own reputation and contacts, and did that. Was thankful to be a part of some fantastic programs during that time of places that I coached, and went back and worked for him, and very, very proud of him. I've learned a lot from him. I still rely on him a lot, now for advice and things like that as well. And I know he's excited about me being in this position and excited to be around Columbia quite a bit also.
Coach, we'll go down there front left, Bob.
Hey, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. Is that how you doing?
Well,
you mentioned Kevin Harris. I assume you watched a lot of film on him. What do you think made him such a productive back in the SEC, and what do you expect? What kind of improvement do you expect him to make this season?
Yeah, Kevin's very tough, very physical. I mean, he's a guy that it's hard for one person to bring them down. And he's a downhill runner that's really worked to improve his game, not just carrying the football, running routes, pass protection, all that stuff. We hired a running backs coach in Monterio Hardesty who played the position at a high level here in the SEC and in the NFL. And Coach Hardesty's done a great job with Kevin and all of our backs as well, bringing those guys along. And I think that's the biggest thing for Kevin is just continuing to build up his strength and getting healthy, increasing that durability to be a running back in this league. And then we've got to be able to help him as well. I mean, I hope he has the year that he had last year, but I hope we also have some other running backs that do that as well to help him lessen the load also.
Coach, we're going to go in the center section along this right aisle, right in the center.
Hey, Coach, Brad Crawford, 24/7 Sports. What defines year one success for you, and what's your plan on getting the Gamecocks back to national relevance?
Yeah, I was watching Peter Burns and Chris Doring this morning, and they were doing their top 5 cliches, and this is probably going to be number 6 if it didn't make the top 5, and that's just to be the very best team that we can be, at the end of the season. And I know it's cliche, but it's true. I mean, we're right now trying to do the very best that we can do right here on Monday back in Columbia. Our guys that worked out this morning and us as coaches and players that are here today, and let's move this program forward today, and let's just try and get a little bit better each and every week and see the very best that we can be at the end of the season and put, take our head out of the water and see where we are at that point. And hopefully, we're the very best that we can be and we've reached our potential for sure. And then the plan, I'm not talking about something that hasn't been done before at South Carolina. In the last 10 years, or my last year at South Carolina, we played for the SEC championship. We beat Alabama when they were #1 in the country at Williams-Brice Stadium. We beat Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and our in-state rival all in the same season. Within the last 10 years, we've been in the midst of consecutive 11-win seasons. Within the last 10 years, we were in the midst of beating our in-state rival 5 years in a row. So we're not talking about something that was done 40 years ago. It was most recently done here at South Carolina, and we're not far away from getting back and doing that again. And that's our plan, to not just get back to that point, but to be even better than we've ever been. That's what we're working towards every day.
Which will go all the way to the back left, Cecil.
Welcome, Coach. Cecil Hurt from the Tuscaloosa News. And I'm going to have a two-parter because I want to follow up because your father was asked about. And I was just curious if he ever, obviously in his great career at Virginia Tech, but did he ever consider the SEC and particularly Alabama at one time?
He did. Good question. No, he did. I can remember a couple times that the Alabama job came open, Alabama reaching out to him at Virginia Tech, for sure. You talk about the SEC. My dad got his start in coaching at the Citadel down in Charleston, South Carolina. So he saw up close and personal what the potential of the South Carolina football program was and is. And I can remember all those years growing up, he always used to talk about South Carolina as a job that he thought had unlimited potential and had every resource he needed to be successful. I can remember Mike McGee, the previous athletic director at South Carolina, sitting in our living room in Blacksburg, Virginia, interviewing my dad when he hired Lou Holtz. And things worked out well for South Carolina. Certainly things worked out well for Virginia Tech, because right after that was when Michael Vick came to town and we played for the national championship. But certainly he considered this league and has great respect for it, like I do.
And also in the transition, and I'm sure you have some incoming players that you're excited about, but did you feel like you lost a year of recruiting in the transition in some ways?
Not really. I've never thought that. I got hired. It's with the early signing period for any new coach coming in. It's going to be tough because I got hired, and I think a week and a half later was when signing day was. Now, at that time, there were very few young men that were committed to the South Carolina football program. All of those guys stayed committed. But because we had such a low number, it really allowed me to jump in as a staff, jump in as a head coach, hire a staff, figure out what our schemes are going to be, figure out what we have from a personnel standpoint, and then utilize the month of January and then every month since then to add to this roster and increase it. So certainly would I like to have been the head coach and had a lot more time before the December signing period? Yes, but so many of those guys, they made decisions before I even got hired, but I really like what we've done to the roster since I got hired. When I got hired that first week of December, our roster now is so much better than what it was now. And I don't mean that as a negative. I mean that we've added a lot of great pieces to the transfer portal and through high school recruiting as well. And as we all know, there's a lot of young men that fall through the cracks in that early signing period, and we were able to identify a lot of those guys and go find them and recruit them and sign them in January.
Coach, we're going to go over here to our right-hand side for Roseback.
Hey, Shane, Adam Luck at Kentucky Sports Radio. You mentioned the tight ends. It's seeming like in the league it's becoming a trend offensive coordinator-wise. I know you went and got Marcus Satterfield from the Panthers. Kentucky hired a guy from the Rams. Saban's done it a couple times. LSU's done it a few times. Why do you think that is? And do you kind of see the league transition into more 12 personnel to kind of take advantage of what defenses are doing nowadays?
Yeah, I think each coach is different and who he wants to hire and bring into the program. Certainly I hired Marcus. He had NFL experience, which was a really appealing. They had run a part of the offense that LSU ran in 2019. Because that's what they were running with the Carolina Panthers last season. But more importantly than that, I know what kind of coach Marcus Satterfield is. We were graduate assistants together, and it helped that he was with the Panthers last season. But he's someone that, for years, if I ever got an opportunity to be a head coach, he's someone that I wanted to try and get on my staff at some point. And then in regards to personnel, I know me personally, we always want to be an offense that has the flexibility and the multiplicity to whatever the strength of our offense is personnel-wise. let's have a system that's flexible enough to adapt to that. And if it's 2 tight ends and 3 running backs are the best players we have on offense, then let's go. If it's 4 wide receivers and a tight end, then let's go. If it's a running back and 4 tight ends, whatever it may be, we want to be able to adjust to it. And that was a great lesson I learned from Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Our offense in 2018 out in Norman with Kyler Murray and CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown was a lot different than what it was in 2019 with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And then it was different in 2020 with Spencer. And we were, if you talk about 12 personnel and 2 tight ends on the field, my first year at Oklahoma, we very rarely had 2 tight ends on the field. Whereas the last couple of years, that's about all we did. So whatever the strength of our offense is, we want to get those guys on the field. I feel like we've got assets there with Nick Use, and I mentioned Jaheim Bell earlier, and a lot of other guys in that tight end room as well that we want to get the ball to.
We're going to stay in that same section a little bit further back, over to the right, Coach.
Hey, Coach, Travis Brown with Bryant College Station Eagle. With Texas A&M being cross-division rival or cross-division game yearly, curious your thoughts on that series. Did you know there was a trophy involved, and what your thoughts on the A&M as a program?
Great respect for the program. I was a graduate assistant at Tennessee back in 2002 or 3, working for John Chavis and Philip Fulmer, and we actually went out to visit Texas A&M one off season. And that was my first time ever to College Station. And then when I was recruiting or coaching at Oklahoma, I was on a recruiting trip to College Station about 2 or 3 years ago and drove through and was just blown away by what had been done there from a facility standpoint. And great respect for their program, great respect for Coach Fisher, a passionate fan base just like ours as well. And being in that part of the country, coaching at Oklahoma, I know a lot about Texas football, obviously, from being a part of that. And love the matchup. Obviously, it'll be a huge challenge for us. They're a really talented team. We're one of the best teams in the country last year. I'm sure they will be again this year, and have a lot of friends in that program. And I'm eager for my first trip to a game in College Station this year.
And we'll take one final one from Ivan right here on the left side.
Hey, Shane, Ivan Mazel on 3.com. You might be the only first-year coach I would ask this of, but the role of a coach now, and you talked about building a roster because of the portal and all the things you can do now. How much of it is evolving from hand me your son and I'll give you back a man to becoming more of a general manager? And if that's the case, is that a bad thing?
No, it's a great question. I don't want to ever get away from hand me your son and we'll help develop him on and off the field to leave here with a degree from South Carolina and a better young man than what you gave him to. But certainly there's
a couple more
college
minutes in
athletics
this
is
one.
different.
We're going
But
to do Kirby
I'm an old
Smart
school guy
next.
at heart and
And then we're
love
going
the
to
college
do
game and what it's about. I love the fact that you can get a 17, 18
Mark Stoops,
year old
Nick
young
Saban,
man,
and then
young
Jimbo
man
Fisher.
in your program, and then 4 years later watch him graduate.
Jimbo Fisher.
In addition to now I'm getting calls to go to their weddings, and they just had babies and things like that. And I got into this business because of the players. I love kids. I love coaching these young men that I coach, and I'll never waver from that for sure. But certainly it's a different time now with everything that's going on throughout college athletics as well. But I think that's regardless of now or 5 years ago. In a lot of ways, that's the chair that you're in. I've learned now being in this chair as a head coach, I feel like there was about 6 weeks when I first got hired where I didn't do anything like football related. It was everything else that comes along with being the head coach. So it's that's part of it, the CEO, general manager aspect of the job. But at the end of the day, it's always about the young men in our program, and always will be. And I couldn't be more fired up about the group of guys that we have in Columbia.
Alabama has a record number of.
Okay, Kirby Smart. We'll play Kirby Smart.
Good morning.
Then Mark Stoops, then Nick Saban, and then Jimbo Fisher.
Media Days, the 2021 version. We do want to say thank you to our friends at
this
Regional
out.
Bank for their support of our activities this week. It's my privilege to introduce Kirby Smart, who enters his 6th season as the head football coach at Georgia. He's guided the University of Georgia to 4 consecutive New Year's Six games. He has been involved with his family in raising funds and contributing to charities in the Athens area, including the Clark County Children's Home, Boys and Girls Club, the Downtown Academy. Kirby and Mary Beth were front and center back in March in Greenville, South Carolina for the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament Championship game, supporting the Georgia Bulldogs, who played University of South Carolina that day for the SEC Tournament Championship. Curry began his summer at the Regions Pro-Am in a foursome with me. I would take whatever he says about my game of golf with a grain of salt because it's the last time I touched my golf clubs all summer. My privilege again to introduce the head coach of the University of Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart. Thank you, Commissioner Sankey, for those kind words. And I will say, since he brought it up, he is a mighty fine golfer. He poor mouths better than coaches do. And his drives are longer than some of the pros we played with and straighter. So I was very impressed with his golf game in Birmingham. Commissioner Sankey does a great job leading this conference. He doesn't need me to say that, but I appreciate the leadership, especially navigating what we've navigated in the past 15 to 16 months. He's been incredible. He's got 14 head coaches in football that all are pulling in different directions, and he manages that with the best of them. He's tremendous. I learned a lot of leadership from him. He's been great. I'd also like to thank our SEC Medical Task Force. The people who give their time, I wish that somebody would do an article on the amount of time that Ron Corson, our athletic trainer, who does a tremendous job, he's the head of the SEC Medical Task Force. He spent on Zoom in the past year. He is relentless. He is constant pursuit of finding a better way, helping us have the season we had last year, and also moving forward into this year. So their staff's done a tremendous job. The leadership at UGA that I get to work under, President Moorhead, Greg McGarity, who's now done, and Josh Brooks is incredible. They're great leaders. They're great people. They've done a wonderful job making it easy to be the head coach at the University of Georgia, and I appreciate what they've done for us. Also, I would like to mention this will be the 50th anniversary season at the University of Georgia for our first 5 African-American football players that enrolled. So we're going to have an opportunity to honor those men. They came and spoke to our team. They did a wonderful job when they came and saw them. Horace King, Clarence Pope, Larry West, Richard Appleby, and Chuck Kennebrew. Those 5 men will be recognized for what they've done, being trailblazers. They were incredible when they came and spoke to the team, and I really enjoyed getting to meet those guys, and we look forward to honoring them at a home game this fall. There's also a loyal dog fan and UGA grad that I'd like to send well wishes to. She also happens to be part of my family, my sister-in-law, Annie Lassette Toothaker, and she's beginning her battle with breast cancer starting this Friday. And we wish Annie the best, and we love you, Annie, and we can't wait to see you beat this tough battle. So with that said, on a lighter side, I'd like to share a quick story from the off season that I got to experience with my kids. You know, I don't think enough people really acknowledge the time that coaches spend recruiting, especially this June. We had one day in June that we didn't have somebody come visit our campus when it was permissible. So it was constant, and they came, and people came from all over, and our staff answered the bell and hosted a lot of prospects coming out of the COVID time and did a wonderful job. But I was able to spend a lot of time in July with my family, and wanted to share a quick story that I have 3 kids that all play different sports. So I get to spend time with my daughter Julia at AAU basketball. We travel all over and get to watch her play, and then get to watch my son Weston play tennis. And I spent 4 nights recently in Rome with some rainouts watching USTA tennis. And then my son Andrew playing baseball. We get to go over and travel. But quick story, when we go to Augusta for 5 straight days of all-star baseball, 5 days of 1 game a day baseball, I take my other 2, Julia and Weston, to a restaurant. We get to eat there at a fancy little hamburger place in Augusta, and several people come over and want autographs. So I get to give a couple of autographs. That's part of being the head coach in the SEC. I think held a baby, took a picture, did several autographs with young men, and then I had an elderly lady come over to our table and say, "You must be somebody famous." And I said, "No, ma'am, I certainly don't think so." She said, "Are you a professional golfer?" I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. I'm thinking Augusta, right? And then she said, are you a NASCAR driver? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. And by now, my kids are kind of giggling. And the last one, she said, are you a track star? And my daughter almost spit out her food and just thought it was hilarious. And at this point, I said, no, ma'am, I coach football at the University of Georgia. So I always say humility is a week away. So it was pretty humbling to have the elderly lady accuse me of being a NASCAR driver, golfer, and also a track star, which I couldn't be anything further from the truth. But I got to spend a lot of time with my kids. That's what it's all about to me, being with those children and being able to watch them play their sports. That's my passion. That's what I do in my free time when I'm not getting to recruit. So it's big. I got to do that. It's also important that our players see us as coaches as real men and fathers. The two young men we're able to bring today, man, I'm excited. Everybody's always excited about their guys, but if you get an opportunity, you won't find a better interview than Jordan Davis. Okay, Jordan Davis is from Charlotte, North Carolina. He is a religion major. He is a big man. He's been upwards of 370 before. He's been down around 330. We encourage him to be closer to 330, but he has been a big part of our defense. One of the number one reasons we've been able to be stop the run and be one of the top defenses in the country at stopping the run is because of Jordan Davis. But he's a lot better person than he is a player. His mother we recruited, and she's a great lady. And to have him here represent the University of Georgia today, please spend time with him and ask questions. And he's very intellectual and fun to be around. And he's a great personality. And then JT Daniels, a product of transfer portal that came to us last year, has worked his tail off, very humble, hardworking, diligent, a film guy, a guy that studies film as hard as anybody. Todd Munkin and our offensive staff have done a tremendous job with JT and continue to do that to grow him as a player. So I'm excited to have those guys here. He's a psych and sociology major as well. So those guys will be here for you guys to talk to today. We've got a new football facility I want to brag on. It wouldn't be possible without our administration and without our fan support, but it is incredible. Brand new, largest weight room in the country. We've got a new locker room, new coaches' offices, new training room. And I kid Ryan Corson all the time. He's the best in the country at being an athletic trainer, but he's also the best in the country at acquiring square footage because he has the largest athletic training facility that I've ever seen. And he's done an incredible job with our players, their rehab. And for you guys that don't know, most of our pro players now come back to work out and train with us. So they've got an unbelievable facility with which Ron can treat guys medically in, and we're ahead of the game when it comes to that. So I'm excited about that. I could sit here and brag, guys, and just talk about some of the things that Greg talked about. 4 straight, near 6 bowl games. We'll have the most players playing in postseason this year graduated that we've ever had. We've got 29 players drafted over the last 4 years. 9 last year was the most we've ever had. There's a lot of things that I can brag on.
I'm going to sit in here.
But the one thing I want to drive on being up here is so important to me, the messaging that you understand. Our players collectively came together last year during a lot of the social inequities and injustices across the country, and they wanted to have a team meeting. And they wanted to bring about change. They wanted to be agents of change. And one of the things that spawned from this meeting was I kept preaching, I want some action. I don't want it just to be words. I just don't want it to be lip service. I want some form of action. And a group of our players said, let's form a group named Dogs for Pups. Cortez Hankton and Courtney Gay have headed up that group, Dogs for Pups, and they have been phenomenal in our community. Okay, a couple things they've done. I want you to really hit home. They've raised over $100,000 for Wi-Fi in the Athens-Clarke County area, so that every child will have an opportunity to do online learning throughout the last year. A lot of kids at home don't have Wi-Fi, don't have that capacity. Our players did that, not anybody else, not the coaches. Nobody made them do it. They chose to do it. They had a food drive where they raised over 30,000 pounds of snacks and food for local community shelters and also kids in schools. They also raised $100,000 for Downtown Academy, which Greg mentioned, which underprivileged kids get to go to that school. And they continue to work today. When we left last week, they were going out and they read to 13 of the 14 elementary schools across Clarke County, promoting reading to these children. Okay, so all those accolades, all the great things we've been able to do at the University of Georgia, the thing I'm most proud of is what Dogs for Pups is doing. It's a nationally recognized kind of grassroots initiative that Cortez and Courtney have headed up, spearheaded, and that's one of the positive things that's come out of the conversations we were able to have last year and meaningful things that we were able to do. And I'm very proud of what those young men have done and continue to do. NIL. I'm going to talk about NIL without you guys raising the question, because I think it's important to understand our young men in the sport of football and all athletics really and student athletes are getting an opportunity that has not been afforded to anyone before them. You think back to the likes of a Hines Ward or a Champ Bailey at the University of Georgia, and AJ Green, and Ty Gurley, what they would have been able to do with NIL. These young men and women have earned this opportunity. We are so excited for them. The opportunities are really limitless. I don't think personally that it's going to blow up college football or change anything substantially. What we have really been focused on is the education of our student athletes. Okay, you are now putting on 18 to 21, 22-year-olds tremendous time demands. Okay, they already have time management between being a student, being an athlete, and doing everything that we ask them to do. Now they have extra demands placed on them. We also have been very educating in selection process of what they choose to do. I think that's one of the key ingredients. I got a text from Quavo, who's an avid Georgia fan, and you'd think, wait, a lot of people in this room probably don't know who Quavo is. The first text I got was 2 weeks after NIL had started and said, Coach, please tell the players, be selective. Who they put their brand with. Don't just do anything. He used the term thirsty. Don't be thirsty, right? Be selective in what you do, selective in how you handle your branding. You've got tax issues now you've got to deal with. There's a lot of education that we're doing in-house to make this an advantage for our young men. And that's something that we continue to drive home with our players, and they understand. We got 2 young men today that are here. One has NIL deals, one that doesn't. And that's by their choice. And we know there may be inequities within positions and things, but our team is very confident that we will manage that, and that will not be a distraction during our off season. And I'm excited to see them handle that. Expectations. That's the next one. Got a quote for you here that I really think drives home what we think about expectations at University of Georgia. Success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Say that again. Success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. That's Henry David Thoreau. And for me, that's it. I'm too busy working. I'm too busy trying to do the next thing. I'm too busy trying to take the next step to give our team a competitive advantage to really worry about expectations. That's you guys' question today. That's usually what people want to know about. But for me, I'm too busy working to worry about that. We want our team to think the same way. So we've taken a very introspective look this year. After the season last year, we did a lot of surveys and a lot of talking to our players. And one of the key words, the biggest theme came out was connection. You know, when you're on a Zoom with somebody, it's hard to have a connection. When you're not allowed to sit within 6 feet of somebody, it's hard to have a connection. We had some players that didn't even get to meet and know everybody on the team throughout the season because so much was done through Zoom and different methods of communication. So connection is one of the key ingredients for this team. We have been very intentional about it. We've given up football time. We've given up workout time to spend more time with each other. And that's beginning to pay off as we see it here in the summer with guys leading, guys getting in front of the group and leading school sessions and being very active. So I'm excited about that part. Proud of the expectations for this team. Our team doesn't back down from those expectations. And then the next topic I'd like to hit on is vaccinations. You know, our roster is over 85%. So our group there is over 85%, and we're proud of that. But we're not stopping there. It's not about a number. It's not about a threshold. I think everybody wants to write who's over and who's under. What it's really about is being able to save our season, being able to keep our players safe. We want to keep our players safe. We want to keep our coaches and staff safe. We want to keep the family members of our players safe. And that comes through vaccinations. And I share quickly and briefly with you, one of the key ingredients, we had each of our coaches stand up and the guys that got vaccinated said, hey, why did you get vaccinated? And Dale McGee, one of our African American coaches and running back coach, did a tremendous job. It moved me to hear him speak to our team and say, guys, I'm from the same community you are. I got my vaccine for 3 reasons. Okay. Primary reason, I want to spend time around my family. He wants to spend time around his dad, his father. He wants to be around his family and be safe to do that. That's the primary reason he got it. Second reason, he wanted to be a pillar in the community. He wanted to be a representative in the community. He wanted to show the people in his community where he's from that it's safe and be a role model to do it. And the third, probably most important, is he had COVID before. And he didn't want to go through it again. And for our players to hear that coming from Dale McGee, that was very impactful. And Ron Corson and his staff have done a tremendous job. I mean, I know I keep mentioning Ron Corson, but over the last year, he is the MVP because we are where we are and we are moving forward. We're not stopping just because you get over 85%. We're trying to keep our team safe, keep our team at a competitive advantage so that we don't lose playing time with our players. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. I know I didn't talk much about the depth charts in the team, but I know you guys will ask those questions.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We have Abby, Christian, and Catherine. We'll get a microphone to you, and then we'll go ahead and start with questions. So we'll start over here on the front row here on the left with Tom.
Hey, Kirby, Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Through your introspection and self-evaluation of last season, where do you need to be better to win the East this year?
You need to be better everywhere. I mean, it starts with everything we do, but the inspection was more for us to find maybe a different way to do things and hear a different voice. And we've done that. I think the weekly meetings we've had, that we've drawn time away from football, have been incredible. The gains we've received in players being able to confront each other. You know, it's easy to say the guy's not doing his job, to demand him to do it right, but it's hard when you have a unified group pulling in the same direction to be the outlier. And we've tried to make that more difficult through our introspection and through our meetings and through our growth as a team. And I'm just excited to see the dividends of that in fall camp of where we can go and where we can get better.
Coach will stay right in the same section, 2 rows back.
Hey, Coach Chase Goodrow with NFL.com. Do you think that for the elite players, the guys that are headed to the NFL, that the name, image, likeness opportunities can benefit them as a way to expose them to the business side of football before they get to the NFL where it's even more of a business?
Yes and no. I mean, definitely that experience can be valuable for them, but they probably are the ones that have to be the most careful with brand selection because, you know, if your identity becomes the lowest on the totem pole just to get $200, $300, that's not going to be real good branding when you get the opportunity to go to the NFL. So those guys probably need it the least, although they're the most valuable because they're the face of the organization. They're the high draft pick, but they need to be the most selective. Because what you brand yourself with doesn't change.
Okay, we'll go in the center section on the left aisle, Coach.
Hey, Kirby, Connor Riley, Dog Nation. In the past, you said you want to use the transfer portal on a need basis. So what needs did the 3 guys that you did bring in, Arik Gilbert, Tyke Smith, and Darian Kendrick, help fill?
Well, the first 2, the defensive backs, you know, we're under our scholarship quota defensive back. We're in search of trying to improve. We had 2 guys come out early. We had 2 guys go into the portal. So we were at a deficit just from sheer scholarship numbers, not to mention experience. So those 2 guys bring an immense amount of experience. And then with Arik, anytime you can get a skilled player on offense that can do things with the ball, I think you're always looking to be dynamic. You look at the teams who won national championships recently, they're most dynamic on offense and at the skill positions.
Coach, we'll go over to the right-hand section, about 3/4 of the way back.
Kirby, Pete Thamel from Yahoo, to kind of continue the thought you just said about the dynamism on offense. The last handful of national title winners, we've really seen quarterbacks who've been able to stretch the field and have really played at an elite highest level in the sport. Do you think JT has that type of arm talent to be comparable to those guys? And where do you need to see him to grow to get there?
Absolutely, he has that arm talent. I actually don't think that arm talent is the number one quality for being a great quarterback. There's a lot that goes into being an elite quarterback. The 2 guys that were the last 2 years national champions, they were really good quarterbacks. They were great decision makers. They were actually better athletes than people give them credit for. The decision-making process, touchdown to interception ratio, protecting the ball, using your playmakers, which both had really good playmakers around. JT has those skill sets. Coach Monken has that experience doing it in the NFL. I mean, with Tampa Bay, they led the league in passing. So we have the recipe for those things. We got to stay healthy. We got to protect the quarterback, and we got to find some more skill players to make plays for us.
Which we'll go back over the left section.
It's pretty good.
Coach over here, JoeGoodmanAL.com. I was wondering if you could tell me the story of how you became to have the cell phone number of Quavo. And secondly, another question. The NIL, how has that changed recruiting so far?
Mark Stoops and
have you seen a trickle-down effect to high school?
Jumbo.
Haven't seen a trickle-down effect in high school. Has it affected recruiting? It's a discussion, but how has it affected recruiting? I don't think it's impacted recruiting, especially when you talk about SEC versus SEC recruiting. We're under very similar parameters in terms of that, so it doesn't make for a competitive advantage. I think the biggest concern, and I think Commissioner Sankey hit on it yesterday, is federal legislation would be nice, because if you looked and you combed across the country, not everybody's playing by the same rules. In other words, some schools are allowed to arrange deals. Some schools are not allowed to arrange deals. In the SEC, our footprint has been very simplified, and it's very the competitive balance is there. So there's not a distinct advantage. That's not necessarily true across the country. So it has not affected recruiting in a grand way. Does that change as more deals come out? Possibly. As far as Quavo, that started back around the playoff run, national championship run. He reached out, communicated through a couple of our players. He's come and spoke to our team before, so I have a lot of cell phone numbers on my phone.
Which will go right in front of me about 3/4 of the way back, middle section.
Hey, Coach Jay Crane from the Jay Boy Show. Can you just talk about the importance of having a spring practice in a summer when the team is really formed, as opposed to kind of last year with the craziness of not having the whole team be able to go to a full spring and a summer to bring the group together?
Yeah, I can't even put that into words. I mean, I think the biggest difference is the spring practice. Having spring practice and the summer workout program that is traditional in terms of conditioning, getting yourself ready for the heat. We didn't even have that last year. So you can't even put a measurement on that, not to mention a new quarterback with a new coordinator. So it was extremely different in having, you don't appreciate spring practice till you don't have it. Let's just say that. A lot of states in the United States don't have spring practice for their high school programs. So the development of those young men is impacted. The footprint of the SEC, almost every state has spring practice, and you can see why in the roster that we have with the young guys who've been impacted of having a spring practice. I'm talking about mid-years and players last year that didn't get it.
Coach, we'll go over to the right side again. You're out.
Hey, Kirby May of UJSports.com. Sort of speaking on that spring practice thing, how have you seen the relationship between JT and Todd Monken grow this, in a somewhat normal offseason? And how critical is that relationship, especially between a quarterback and an offensive coordinator?
Well, it's the biggest relationship there is, because it's not a set of positions. Every other position has multiple starters, different guys that play. At quarterback, it's not typically that way. So whoever your starting quarterback is, he has to have direct communication. You treat a quarterback different at times. You give him lines of communication to tell you things he likes and doesn't like. And they have that. Todd does a great job speaking with JT, and JT understands what he likes to do. JT does a great job of making sure that he's keeping skilled players accountable for what they have to do and demanding that there's excellence. I mean, I appreciate the thought that JT puts into the game plan. I appreciate the thought that he puts into the guys playing positions around him. That shows that he's a true quarterback and a true leader.
Which will go right in front of me, 3 rows back.
Hey, Kirby, Jordan Hill of the Black Auburn News. I want to ask about Mike Bobo. Just what's that relationship been like going back to y'all's playing days together? And what do you think Auburn is getting with him being the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach?
Mike and I have a relationship that goes really far back. Both our fathers were high school coaches, crosstown rivals, and we grew up kind of competing against each other and then got to live together in college. So he's a dear friend and close to their family, and excited for him to be back in the SEC. I think he makes the SEC a better conference, and glad to get him back this way.
Okay, we'll stay in that same section right next door. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Ben Portnoy with the state newspaper. So Shane Beamer was on your staff for a couple of years. What do you remember most about Shane as an assistant working with you and now seeing him on the head coaching stage as well? Just kind of what comes to mind and what is that like to see?
The preparation he puts into special teams, tight end play, whatever he's in charge of, he spends a lot of time and he takes a lot of pride in the performance. And that's what successful people do. You know, they take a lot of pride in performance. They want it to be right. I like to think that it's a demanding place that we work at. He did a tremendous job meeting those demands.
Coach, we'll go around the right-hand side or the middle section.
Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Kirby, can you explain kind of the backstory of Jordan Davis deciding to come back to school? Because I think there's a lot of people who watch the Peach Bowl and assume that after the performance he had that he would go off to the NFL.
Yeah, it's not a big backstory. I mean, we have a process we go through of educating our players. We get them information. Jordan was very deliberate about, I want to get information, Coach. I'm not making the decision prior to. And in this day and age, I don't know that happens all the time. I think a lot of kids make their mind up. It's a predetermined decision. And he didn't do it that way. He's got wonderful guys at home. His mom, Miss Shay, that's his why. Trey Scott's done a tremendous job with his relationship with Jordan. And Jordan wanted to graduate. That's really important to him that he graduates. He wanted to have a better season. He wanted an opportunity to do what so many other SEC players have been able to do, to move up. And a lot of times the financial reward for moving up is greater than going right where he is. And he enjoys the college game. And I think he's excited about playing in Charlotte. You know, he gets to go back to his hometown and open this season there.
Which will go right down front here in the second row.
Hey, Kirby, this is Brandon Savage with the Macon Telegraph. Wanted to follow up on Darian Kendrick. I mean, how did the opportunity come about? And I know obviously he hasn't been on campus for too long, but what's the significance of adding an all-ACC player like that? I mean, as you said, in a secondary that didn't even have the scholarship quota.
Yeah, DK is a kid that we knew through recruiting. We recruited him at University of Georgia, but Coach Muschamp also recruited him at South Carolina. So both of us felt like we had a good feel for his family and his dynamic there. And he's a young man that comes from a program that's been very successful. He's played and had a lot of experience. And when you look at what the portal took away from us and we lost, we were able to gain as well. And I think that's an interesting situation when you look across the board at what's going to happen to the future of college football, whether it be NIL, combination of portal of the haves and have-nots, and that line of parity separating even more, because we were able to get a guy that had a lot of great experience playing, and we needed someone at that position, having lost 4 DBs that all got drafted. It was a dynamic situation that we had to replace.
Okay, we'll take one last question, center section on the left aisle.
Gianna Hahn, AL.com. Demetrius Robertson headed over to Auburn. What are they getting out of him as a player, and are you looking forward to seeing him again during the season?
D-Rob's a tremendous young man. He's a kid that I feel like I've known. I mean, I could go all the way back to the years at Alabama when we were recruiting D-Rob as a young player, and then I come to Georgia, continue to recruit him, don't get him by transfer, and now he's going to graduate this summer and be able to go to Auburn. So I'm so excited for D-Rob because he's a great young man. I mean, this young man did everything the right way. He's got a lot of speed. He's a vertical threat. I know Bobo and those guys at Auburn are excited to get him.
Mr. Smart, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, once again, we'll have Mark Stoops, and we'll have the last two, Nick Saban,
Can't thank you enough.
Jimbo Fisher, and then we'll wrap it up.
Not only the past 16 months with COVID, but just with the changing landscape in college football. You and your staff, the leadership you provide us is amazing. Also, I'd like to recognize Mitch Barnhart, UK administration, for what they do for us. Obviously, very trying times. So, been great support to us. A year ago, very difficult on the University of Kentucky. So grateful to be here. Not having these media days, like Greg said, feels very different. 9 years being here, very changing, difficult times. But a year ago for the University of Kentucky was very, very tough. Several players. We had some injuries to Chris Oates, something that he's still fighting for each and every day. The loss of Coach John Slarman, it's something that really shook our program. So really grateful to our players, our administration, the SEC for just helping us through that difficult time. So needless to say, getting back here, getting back on schedule, grateful to be here, grateful to be in this league for 9 seasons. You see so many people come and go, so many coaches come and go. Obviously, very, very difficult, very challenging, but again, grateful is the word that comes to mind. Thank you to the media. As I just mentioned, there was quite a few stories for Kentucky to cover a year ago. A couple of those young men that are with us today. First young man is Josh Pascal. You will get a chance to visit with him. He's a guy that has his own story overcoming cancer. He's battled through many things. Terrific football player, terrific young man, great leader in our program, and had his own individual struggles that he is continuing to fight and continuing to beat. The other one is Darian Kennard, terrific player, decided to forego his opportunity to go play in the NFL, come back and play with University of Kentucky one more year, and we're grateful for Darian. So 2 special young men that you'll get an opportunity to visit with. As I talk about you, the media, and some of the things you covered, I remember a year ago, one of the last interviews Coach Schlarman did, he was fighting through so much. It was really inspirational just to watch John go about his business every day and go to meetings, go to practice. One of the side effects from his treatment, his cancer treatments, were blisters. He could barely walk, and he was just really struggling. And one of you in the media asked him and did a story and just said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you continuing to go out there and coach this football team?" And he just simply said, very matter of fact, for the team. Just for the team. So obviously that's a mantra that stuck with me. It stuck with our football team that we will carry forward. And it's also a reminder during these times, during these turbulent times of college football and college athletics in general. It is still about the team and doing things right. For me, you guys have heard me for years sit here and just pounded about the program, building the program, and all the different things we do each and every year. And that's still the foundation. Build, select, develop, constantly talk about that, build a winning culture, hit our players over the head with a sledgehammer about positive culture, selecting the right players. Our coaches always seem to do a great job to recruit the right players and select the right players for Kentucky, and then intentionally develop. That's what we do. We have to. We develop players from the moment they walk on their campus. Again, hit them over the head, and work with them each and every day to develop them in all areas of their life. And that's always our foundation. But there's always that point, to John's point, it is about the team in this changing times. You can kind of cherry pick some players, and it's a different time. It's a different age. As I just mentioned, 9 years, me standing here, very different. This year is very different with the transfer portal. All of us coaches that have come through here, we don't have all the answers to the portal. We don't have all the answers to name, image, and likeness, but we'll continue to do the best we can for the young people in our program. I feel like with that, we really did benefit our program this year. I feel like we added some players, we added some personnel that can help us, that can help continue to push our program forward. I really like the changes that I made in the coaching staff. I needed to. And offensive coordinator Liam Cohen coming in from the Rams and hopefully continuing to push us forward and to give us the balance that I'm searching for. Defensively, Brad White, John Summerall continue to do a great job defensively. So I love our staff. I feel like we have a very good football team, a team that's worked exceptionally hard. Again, it's very nice for us to go back to doing the things that we do and spending time with each other during the summer. And, a year ago, all those things were taken away. This year, that's a big piece of our culture is to spend time with each other. We do that every Wednesday. We have a speaker come in and educate our players on life, some form of their life. And then we go out back and have a cookout and spend time with each other. So it's been good. We're excited about the season and ready to get going. So with that, I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Coach Stoops. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Abby, Christian, or Catherine will bring a microphone. Again, if you'll state your name and affiliation, and they'll help identify us. Start over here on the left, Christian, with Parrish on the left-hand side.
Parrish Alford, Daily Journal in Tupelo, Mississippi. Coach, what do you think Jaquez Jones brings to your team defensively?
Well, it brings an experienced player. It's definitely an area where we got caught a little bit short, as I mentioned in the opening statement about having the opportunity to fill some holes. With Chris Oates having the injury and being unable to play again this year, and with the early departure of Jamin Davis, left us a little bit thin. And then we had an injury in the spring. Season-ending injury in the spring, and another inside linebacker. And so with that, he brings a player with a lot of experience and leadership, and we needed that at that position. So we're excited to have him.
Coach, we're going to go right down in front of us, third row. Michael.
Yeah, Michael Cosgrande, AL.com. Just wondering, how did you approach the conversation with the team in terms of vaccinations and getting to that threshold?
Yeah, we're just going to continue to educate our players and, try to reach that threshold. We have a ways to go, but I believe it's attainable. We want them to make the right decision for themselves. I'll let the experts come in and continue to educate them and talk to them about the benefits of it and possibly some of the negatives, and let them make each of them make their own decision.
Which will go in the center section along the right aisle, about halfway back.
Conor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Was there a moment last year in which you realized that your offense needed to change?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, an honest assessment. I mean, as we go through the season, you certainly look at all the things you're doing and you want to continue to build on that and improve in the areas that you need to improve, and the areas where you're falling short. You have to address them. So, yes, I can't tell you the exact time or date, but there was certainly a time throughout the year that I know we needed to make some improvement in that area.
Which will go over to our left, about the third row. Yeah. There we go, second row.
Hey, Mark, David Klondiger with the Charleston Post and Courier. There's always talk about maybe expanding the SEC season to maybe 9 conference games. If they ever went to that, what would you think of it?
Well, I wondered if people watched last year. The league, there was quite a few people that struggled, if anybody took notice of that. So that's how I feel.
Okay, we'll go in the center section about halfway back.
Hello, Coach. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. My name is Gerard Hamilton with the Tuscaloosa News. You got a new OC in Liam Cohen, who formerly was assistant QB coach with the Rams. What are the conversations you guys have been talking about as far as expanding the passing game and trying to boost the passing attack this season?
Yeah, that was a big reason why I hired Liam. I wanted to, it took me some time to, clearly look at what I wanted our team to look like and what I felt like we can do. And, so I spent quite a bit of time, researching people and systems, and ultimately came down to Liam. And so I have full confidence and trust in him, and that is part of his system, part of the offense, to be able to play action pass and get the ball down the field. I felt like this spring we got the ball down the field better than we have in years, so I feel good about it.
Okay, we'll go in the center section inside. White hat.
Coach Stoops, Drew DeArmond, WCZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you a two-part question. First, about the transfer portal addition of Dare Rosenthal along your offensive line and the impact he could make. And then second, I've asked you about it before, but how have you seen Huntsville native John Summerall grow as a coach? And I know you're a defensive guy yourself, but talk about his rise in the ranks and the kind of recruiter he is as well, because I know he had a lot to do with Jarquez Jones choosing your school.
Yeah. Adding Dare, greatly helps our football team. As I mentioned, he has SEC experience, played at one of the premier programs in our league, very talented, and I'm excited to have him. We've had good offensive linemen. We've going to continue to build on that, and he's been a great addition. As far as John Summerall, he's a fantastic football coach. He really is. I look at him as a coordinator, as a title of co-defensive coordinator, and that's well-deserved. I know Brad White, if he was here, he'd be the first one to tell you how much he leans on him. You have to, in this day and age, you have to have coordinators. You have to have people in your room that are more than capable, not just one, of calling defenses, setting it up, on both sides of the ball. And so grateful to have John. He's a terrific recruiter. He's got an unbelievable personality. Even though he was from Alabama, he played at Kentucky, and we're grateful to have him.
Here you go, the center section, about 3/4 of the way back on the aisle.
Hey, Coach, this is Ben Fredrickson from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'm curious how you've seen the series against Missouri play out in your seasons at Kentucky. It seems like whichever team wins that game finishes higher in the East. I think that you got the upper hand in the series, but this overall score is tied. There've been some very close games. This is the earliest you will play Missouri in week 2. Just have you seen that series kind of become an indicator for how both seasons are going to go for both teams?
Well, I think you're correct there. I don't want to get ahead of myself. That is game 2. We're worried about the opener, but it is important. There's no denying that. I think it's as you look at all the teams in the East and you look at the teams trying to move up the ladder and continue to grow and to climb. Us in Missouri have had some terrific games, and I'm sure it'll be another very good game this year. So it's important.
Okay, we'll go right down here to our left, second row, Bob.
Hey, Mark. Bob Wolfart, September Greg, is that how you do it? You've alluded a couple times to going into your 9th year. The league's got 8 coaches who are just going into their first or second year. The league kind of chews guys up a lot of times. You're second in tenure to Nick Saban. How do you feel about that? And just what's been the key to sustaining some success in a program that historically has not been able to do that?
Thanks, Bob. First of all, it's as I mentioned again in my opening statement, it's great to be back here. It's really good to see you. I missed you. I enjoy listening to your questions each and every day to every coach, though. So I always catch you on TV, getting that airtime. So that's good. But yeah, you better not grow it too much more. But no, it's like I said, I think grateful. You really don't think about it until you start preparing for some of these statements and things of that nature, and talking about being in here 9 years. And I can remember Greg. I've known Greg for such a long time, but I didn't know he was a painter. But I was a very good painter growing up. I mean, I was on that ladder. I was working. But true story, Greg. My first job, I worked at University of South Florida, and that was my first full-time coaching job. And I worked construction, and I did the painting at night to pay the bills. So that's a true story. Eric Wolford, who's my offensive line coach right now, he and I worked construction at night, so that painting paid off for me. But the 9 years I go back to when Greg was the assistant commissioner and working directly with football And just being in those meetings and just all the different turnover since then. I don't know. I guess,
I ran 5.
You don't really think about it till you
So I
get
think
here,
this
start
one
talking to everybody,
I'm gonna,
but I just want to go back to Kentucky, put my head down and continue to work. So I make sure I'm here next year. You know, that's really the goal, but also really want to continue to grow this program. I said it when I got to Kentucky that we were going to recruit, we were going to develop, we were going to
videos
compete.
are very long.
I wanted to take this program to national prominence, and people laughed at me. We're not there yet, but we're on our way, and we're continuing to work. I feel good about where we're at. You know, I think you know, we have a very good team. We have some things in place. We're constantly learning. We're constantly growing, and we're getting better.
Coach, we're going to go over here to the right side, about halfway back.
Hey, Coach, John Furry from WFOY St. Augustine. We're kind of interested in Joey Gatewood. He's from our neck of the woods, and the quarterback situation with him and Levis right now.
Yeah, you know, Joey has been a terrific teammate. You know, really has come in and worked hard, gotten better each and every day. He had a really good spring. Of course, Will was not there in the spring, so he and Bo Allen were battling for the starting position. And Joey
After
really
this
had
one,
a
we're
good
gonna
spring.
save
Now
those
you
two
add
for
Will,
tomorrow.
to
We'll
the
run
mix,
those
and we have a
tomorrow,
lot
and
to look at. You know, it's nice to have options. I feel very good about those 3 and others in our program. So we'll see where it goes, but he did have a really good spring. And again, one of the things I was most impressed with him was he's a big, strong guy, but he was very accurate down the field. He got the ball down the field and was accurate down the field, something we needed to improve on.
Coach, we'll go here in the center section along the left aisle.
Hey, Mark, John Sokoloff with WCBI TV in Mississippi. I'm just curious, what do you kind of remember about when you faced Mississippi State last season? What kind of allowed you to have success about them? And what do you think about the Bulldogs heading into this year?
Well, you know, Mike's going to be successful. He's been successful everywhere he's been. He's tremendous talent, and you know, I'm sure that they'll be much improved in year 2. So that's what you expect. You know, you just expect a great challenge. It's never easy for us to go down there. We have to go on the road and play. So I'm sure it'll be a hostile environment, and it'll be a much improved football team. And Mike's been around again a long time. I've known Mike for a long time, and I'm sure he will be very successful. So we have a lot of games before that. So.
Coach, we'll go over here to the left side. Way back.
Hey, Coach. Kate Thomas with WAB-TV in Baton Rouge. There's a famous Dr. Seuss quote. When something bad happens, it can either destroy you, define you, or strengthen you. With all the tragedy and adversity that your team has gone through, what can you gain from that and take into this next season?
Oh, I think our team, I just credit our team with perseverance and strength, you know, to, you know, continue to fight through that. You know, there's no denying it. It was very difficult. It was difficult on everybody in here, every team. Everybody had adversity and things to deal with, and we were no different. But I greatly appreciate our football team. As I mentioned, when somebody asked me the question about 9 SEC games, well, there was 10 last year, and you know, again, take a good hard look at what it did to half our league, and you know, it could have been easy for our team to fold the tent, and they didn't do that. And so I have great respect for them and the coaches in our program, and so I think we learn to persevere and continue to fight through.
Which will go over on the right-hand side.
Hey, Mark, Adam, Kentucky Sports Radio. It's the era of the super senior. But on your defense, you have a lot of them. Talk about 3 senior safeties. Josh Paschal's been a playmaker in this league. DeAndre Square has played a lot. How much flexibility does it give you all in the defensive room? Maybe you all have more wiggle room to do some more complex stuff, and you feel like that's a unit that's being slept on because your league here recently, you all been in the top of the half of the league when it comes to pretty much any statistical measure you're looking at.
Well, appreciate you pointing that out. We've been very, very good, very sound defensively. I do feel like there's some things
and then we'll wrap it up
to play with some smaller personnel with the experience that we have. We've tried to play to our strengths, and this year, some of that strengths may be to play smaller, to play with 5 defensive backs, more than we have in the past to give us some more versatility. So we will see. That's something that we definitely did experiment quite a bit with in the spring, and we'll see where that goes here through camp.
Okay, Coach, we'll stay over here on the right-hand side.
Hey, Mark, Ivan Mazel with On3.com. Given the number of super seniors everywhere and seniors, how much do you expect the level of play to increase across the board? And as a coach, how do you expect to handle that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We have 6 guys that I've never used that term, but it's a good term. Super seniors, I guess you take the guys that decided to come back, and we greatly appreciate having that experience. There's 6 guys that bring a wealth of experience. They've won a lot of football games. They've been to a lot of bowl games and had some success, and so hopefully they'll help us take it to another level and provide the leadership that we need. I feel like it's also a good time for us. It gives us great balance. Roster management is such a big deal now, with what's going on and again with the portal and all the transfers and different things. And I feel like we have good balance within our 6 classes now, which is very different. But that'll change each year.
Coach, we'll go straight ahead of us about midway back.
Coach, 5 of the first 6 games are at home, and over the last 2 seasons at home, you guys compiled a 9-4 record. How important is it to get off to a fast start in these home games?
Well, I think it's always important. To be quite honest, I really don't even look that far ahead as far as who's at home, who's away, and all that. We're just really concentrating on our opponents and getting ready for each game. But as I mentioned earlier, every game is so important. And we're only guaranteed 12, so we got to make the most of it. And I think we all understand the fine line in this conference with the close games and the difference between winning one and losing one is very important.
We have time for one more question. If anyone has a question, raise your hand. We've got a couple back here. We'll take these last 2 and go from there.
Hey, Trey Scott, 24/7 Sports. I'm interested, right here, in the dynamics of re-recruiting players a second time around with the portal. Wandale here specifically.
It was good to have a good relationship with Wandale. We recruited him extremely hard and tried to do all the right things and make it very difficult for him to say no to us, and that's our job. It didn't work out that way the first go around, but it came back the second time, and very grateful to have him in our program. He's a difference maker. He's a guy that was electric this spring, and you could feel his presence on the field, and very excited to have him on our team.
Okay, we'll take one final question here in the center section. I think Drew have one.
Wrap it up.
Coach Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you really about the offense a little bit. I know we didn't get a chance to see any of it, but you added a piece like Wandale Robinson, but you also have Rodriguez at running back, who's a very good player. What is it that you philosophically want to see out of your offense without giving away your plan, though, the changes that you've made?
Sure, I think obviously balance. That's the simple answer. Everybody understands that we need to have more balance. We ran the football extremely well for years, and we want to continue to do that, but we want to take advantage of that as well and be able to be efficient in play action pass and get the ball down the field. And I feel like we certainly improved in that area. Also, there's some versatility in the run game that we can continue to add to. So, I feel good about it. It's going to be different, but I always want to have a strong physical presence. I want to be able to run the football. Me being a defensive guy for years and years, you always feel that threat. It's always very aggravating when teams can run the ball on you. And so, we want to have a strong physical presence, but again, get the ball down the field and create explosive plays.
Alabama has a record number of open jobs. Find yours at your local career center.
Okay, once again, all the SEC coaches, I'm gonna be honest with you, they had some pretty good questions for those coaches, to tell you the truth. So once again, we'll have SEC Media Days tomorrow for the fourth day. We will Nick Saban. We'll also have Jimbo Fisher, and then we'll also hear from the Vanderbilt coach as well. See what's happening with his program. So once again, thanks for joining us here for Sports Talk, the special edition of SEC Media Days. We will be doing this all week long. So everybody, once again, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can also follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Tumblr. And you can follow us on the Twitch channel as well. Also follow us on Instagram. And let's see, last one. You can follow us on Blogspot, and then also follow us on the LinkedIn page. So once again, everybody have a good rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow for Sports Talk.